Okay. Good evening to everyone. I want to first let you know up front that I had tried to go on here once before, just a couple minutes ago, and right at 7:45 actually, and I got an arrow and it shut down. So I don't know what that's all about, but I'm trying it again, and I'm hoping that we can move forward. My scripture tonight is coming from Matthew 12:36, but I tell you that every careless word that people speak, they shall give an accounting for it in the days of judgment. I have been asked a couple of questions, and I wanted to go ahead and play the recordings that addresses those questions because I just think that that's right. That's the right thing to do, especially if you guys are taking your time out and you're listening and you're trying to find out answers and you're trying to follow this along, that when you do bring up your questions, that your questions get answered. So I had a couple of people to ask me, so is there a recording where they talk about, confirming that there was drugs or something in her system? So we are going to listen to that video or that recording, I'm sorry, this evening. Additional to that, we are also going to listen to, it's in the same recording. So in this very same recording, you're going to hear where the sheriff says, again, she will be charged. And I don't know if, for those of you that are listening, if you're aware or not, she was not charged and the case was closed. So again, here it is, another recording saying that she will be charged. It even states that the prosecuting attorney says that she will be charged. So we're going to listen to that. And then we're also going to hear Rest in Love, Mr. Butterfield. I don't know if you guys are aware or not of who Mr. Butterfield is, Curtis Butterfield. I had the opportunity to meet him and to his family. If you guys are following along. Mr. Butterfield was one of the only true Christians that I ran into in this journey regarding my brother. And as you all know, he's no longer with us. Mr. Butterfield had a different story. He had a different story from day one of what happened. And every time he tried to tell his story, he got shot down. This recording also reflects on Mr. Butterfield's story. It does not speak it from his words. I do have a small recording, and he actually talks about him being a Christian in it. And I went back and forth in whether or not I actually wanted to move forward with sharing that one tonight, and I may. But in this particular recording, Chef Roberts actually make a reflection on what Mr. Butterfield, what his story was, what he thought happened. So this recording is a surprise visit from Chef Roberts. When they initially came, Mr. Butterfield was there. But when he came back, Mr. Butterfield did not accompany him. So he was there, from my understanding, by himself. He was the only person that I heard in the background, and he was the only person that my mom mentioned they called me on the phone. Please keep in mind that when you're listening to this, It sounds like I'm right there in it, but I'm actually over the phone, and the recorder is on my phone, so I'm speaking directly in the recorder, so my voice comes across pretty loud. Okay, we're gonna go ahead and get into the recording. So again, just to give you a briefer, we're gonna go. You're gonna hear the confirmation of drugs in the system, because that was a big question. You're going to hear the sheriff's talk about her being charged. You're going to hear him say that the prosecuting attorney's saying that she's going to be charged. You're going to hear him speak briefly of Mr. Butterfield's story, with him saying that, there was something else different that took place, and then I'll come back. So let's go ahead and listen to the audio. Please tell me if you guys can hear this.
Right now. You start to say so. The way some of you before, so we went ahead and let so he came to the office yesterday. He said they were going to proceed. It would be charges filed against the young lady that's driving today. He feels like the governor is go forward and get may end up in a jury trial, may not, we don't know, here, but he will be charged with leaving the scene of an accident. We did kick around negligent homicide, but the problem with negligent homicide is the fact they missed and a leaving the scene of an accident with death is a deep felony, which is a felony. You get up to 6 years and 16 years. He feels like we've got a better case to prove that he didn't render aid as what the law said to the T. To prove negligent homicide, you have to show that he intentionally ran him over or did something else. And we're at that point where criminally you have to prove it beyond a reasonable doubt. And we just don't think that negligent homicide is where we need to go. We need to go with the harder offense, leaving the scene of an accident, which the letter of the law says when you hit something, you're to immediately stop and render aid. Well, they haven't really defined what that something is. Some people say, well, I hit a dog and they keep going, or I hit a cat and keep going, or I hit a possum, whatever. But in this case, we find it hard for her not to understand what she did. Even if she didn't realize at the time she hit a person, she should have. Yes, she should have known something is going on. Now, let me go back and tell you some of the things that he's done.
Mom, let him talk, please.
He had meth in his system. He had marijuana in her system.
You get meth in his system? I got that.
We got a witness that says he was smoking meth with him.
No. I don't care what witness. What did your paperwork say? Okay, I'm going to hush. I'm going to take this in. Go ahead, sir. Go ahead.
I'm laughing. He had meth in his system. Okay?
Don't raise your voice at me. Go ahead and do your delivery, please.
Okay. This is the lady I talked to on the phone. All right.
Oh, so this is the prosecuting attorney that we're talking to.
Ma'am?
Is that who we're talking to? I just want to make sure that's who we're talking to, the prosecuting attorney.
No. You're talking to the sheriff.
This is Sheriff Roberts.
Sheriff Roberts, you're right. Yes,
Okay,
ma'am.
okay, go ahead.
All right, toxicology, and that's one of the reports we were waiting on, but his toxicology and hers says that he had meth in his system, she had marijuana in her system, okay? At the time that, and see, this was something that was said early on that we didn't get tox from her. Yes, we did. We got it within 2 hours of identifying her as the driver of the vehicle. She admits that she smoked marijuana on Friday before. That doesn't matter to me. It was in her system. Okay, they say marijuana's in your system for 30 days. I don't know. I don't care. When I do a report on you and you say this is what it is, then this is what I go with. But early on, we sent him to Little Rock. Well, wait a minute, back up. We called Little Rock, said, hey, we need to send him for a autopsy. They refused us. They said, no, we're not going to do an autopsy. We called back up there 2 more times before we got to the head boss and said, let me tell you something. We got a case here that's going to have a lot of questions. And we're not just going to say, you know, we want to know, one, was he facing the traffic when he was hit? Was he walking away from the traffic when he was hit? What injuries did he have to his body? We need to know that because we're at this point of, this is a criminal wrongful death case. We knew we were going one or the other way with it. We had to. Finally, we got them to agree on Monday. They came and got him on Tuesday. They did the autopsy, and they told us that, yes, he was walking away from the track line. He hit him from behind. He hit like the front driver's fender, and he hit the windshield. He hit him, he flew up and hit the windshield, and he was hit one time. He wasn't run over. That was another question that we had because our coroner was telling his opinion, and his opinion was that he'd gotten run over after he was hit the original time. Autopsy says no. The medical examiner says no. He was hit, and he died within just seconds of being hit. He didn't suffer. The injuries he had was so to the degree that was so that he died just within seconds after he was hit. He wasn't run over. He wasn't hit in the road. He wasn't, as some people would say, he was suffering and laying in the bed. So what we did with that is we continued to investigate who he was with, what he was with. We got him back in Brooklyn. We traced him all the way back 2 hours before this incident. We got him at Brookshire's on video of getting a $35 from that was wired down from his wife to pay the guy to take him to Laurel. We talked to that guy. We talked to the guy that was at the house. Know that we were going to give him a ride. Showed up at like 3:15, 3:20. Donald got mad because the guy's supposed to have been there and they're supposed to have left at 3 to get him to Louisville and catch the bus. So I'm going to take off the wall. Talked to his wife. His wife said when she talks to him, she gives us the time. We do the phone. We check his records. We check her records. We check phone records. Everybody that we talk to, we've done phone records. We can put Donald and his wife talking somewhere around 3:25, 3:26 that morning. She said he told her he was at Sumac, which was up the road. And then we traced all the phone calls back. He was calling other people to get a ride. He was steady to get a ride up until around 3:30. That happened that probably shouldn't have happened if somebody would have just done what they needed to do, and that would have been take him, as they told him, and take him from point A to point B. But again, we got the autopsy report back. We've got all of our reports, the prosecutor saying we're going forward, and so that's where we're at. No questions?
is, so what side of the road it was on? He was headed this way. So she came up and hit it from behind, that's what you're saying? But you was actually coming this way too?
She was coming to town, he was coming to town.
So he had to go, which side, okay, so they tell me they side the body was over in the crater, in the middle, so,
he was walking.
so she give him, I over there?
He didn't. He was driving around, he was in the closest to the meeting. I'm talking outside, some people call it the fast lane, some people call it the passing lane. Right? He was driving in the passing lane. He was walking. He got one on this side and he got one on this side. He was walking just to the inside of that. She hit him about 6 o'clock. Then you want to hit right here. This was windshield. You know where the windshield is at the driver? You get there. Took the side mirror off, and he was out in the median, laying in the median. In the ground.
So his body did hit that front windshield. Yeah. I'm having visions of it. Okay, go ahead.
And he went down, I say less than a quarter of a mile. She pulls over, he looks at her car, she pulls, the fender is bent to the wheel. She tries to pull it up, gets back in, drives up just a little bit, still rubbing, so she stops. She calls a friend, hey, come get me. And friend shows up, they go, we've been hurt in the store there. You got the video of that. You got them, what were they saying, what were they doing? We left there and went to Mama,
let him talk.
And all the way up until the judge and the jury says this is this is what's going to happen.
You didn't look at what they did. What did they say? What did they say? And what was the excuse that?
You guys, please forgive ignorance. Why would you call me, whoever you are? I don't even know you.
Whoever decided to deliver this, what excuse did they come up with her being, with it being excusable for her to be gone for 2 hours, where she could have got rid of any type of substantial evidence, material, drugs, anything? Where it could have been the driver, what excuse?
Y'all were trying to put stuff on me, and I want to just come out here and tell you is that we are proceeding on with this case. We're not dropping this case. But
no, we're not trying to say anything about, we didn't say anything about anything that put on you. I said what was the excuse or what was the, suggested.
So she thought she did it here. And we're telling you now that we're saying we don't believe she thinks she did it here. That's what I'm trying to tell you. If we thought she did it here, we wouldn't be pressing charges against her.
Yeah, but you guys but you come and you deliver this message, but then you say also that you guys want to go with the lesser charges of it. I buried a brother. I say that, Christy. Okay, so then maybe I heard wrong. Please, you hear the when I said with the bigger charge. With the deep felony charge, it's here with the lesser charge. Then I asked misdemeanor. You can really go. So it's not misdemeanor. It's a criminal charge.
I want you to come and tell you that we're proceeding on. And we still got questions. We're still going to try to get as many answers as we can. But I want you to do it here first.
Okay, then there's one more question. Okay, you said that left in his system. Was it in, did somebody have shot him over there? Did they look for a puncture for it?
You got him on video. He said, there's a house.
Yes, it has.
Just picked up. He carried it.
That's the fourth part.
The guy, I'll grab everything. I can get it for you. This is the man that's the face.
Tracy Teasley is the one who said they got him on video? They don't have him, they got him testifying on video, right? On video. Tracy Teasley.
All this is, I mean, I'm telling you what we got, but when it comes to court, all this is going to come out, all these people are going to have to testify, all these people will have to testify to what they've already told us. You get it on video.
Okay.
You're not going to be able to say, oh, no, I didn't say that. Well, here it is.
All right. You feel allowed to take the test?
I'm sure she would. She's got a lawyer. She's got a lawyer.
It's like whatever his name, agree to what he's doing to on not to take the test. Yes. Because this is concerned me. Now, he knew if he's not rapping, he's one more, so he go back to see his lawyer. He knows he's right back to his, and he was up for a dismissal of his case based on a false arrest. Yeah, it was a false arrest. Based on a false arrest that one of your officers did, which was his whole reason for being in jail during that time period, and which was his whole reason for even being in El Dorado during that time period, was dealing with that false arrest, which they had video cameras from the cop's car to show the, oh Lord Jesus. Just leave that alone, 50. I don't even know if you know anything about it, leave that alone.
What I was told was that he came down to see his lawyer. He was waiting for back home. But I didn't know anything about parole officers.
Well, Sheriff Roberts, I'm going to say this to you. I'm going to say this with you. This is really interesting for my brother to come up dead right when an officer and his wrongdoings are supposed to be introduced to the court. And I know that El Dorado is small. And I know that officers or police officers and citizens, I know that they know each other. And I know you spoke to me in regards to you being right and you doing the right thing. But as I share with you, everybody is not you, Sheriff Roberts. Everybody is not you.
Like I told you before, I've been a police officer for 34 years. I don't put somebody in jail based on color, their experience, whether they're rich or they're poor.
Nobody mentioned race. Nobody mentioned race to you. So don't give me the history of race. Nobody has mentioned race to you. This has nothing to do with your race. I don't even know what your race is. I have not met you. I have not shook hands with you. I have not met Sergeant Sanders. I have not met the prosecuting attorney. I have not met or laid eyes on any of you men. Not the color of her skin. Color of skin has nothing to do with this. This is everything. It has everything to do about the content of everybody's characters involved. That's what it has to do with.
Now, if we didn't, I told Mr. Clark. I told Mr. Clark early on. I said, Mr. Clark, I said, one of the matters, we might have enough to get a warrant, okay, to arrest this person. Well, there's a difference in getting an arrest warrant and then getting prosecuted. We still got a lot of work to do to get this prosecuted. And that's what I'm trying to tell you. We still have some hurdles that we gotta jump over and some things that we're gonna have to explain because her lawyer is gonna try to discredit our case. We understand that. And we're trying to do the best thing we can to make sure that when we arrest somebody, that we put that court case together. It's just like we were talking about Donald getting falsely arrested. I don't know anything about that, but if that's the case, then somebody needs to answer to that as to why he was even in court that day.
Oh, I do plan on having it brought back up.
And that's what I was saying. I would too. But what I'm saying is that I want you to come and tell your mom, this is where we're at, and this is where we're going, and that she will be notified of any court proceedings from this period on. You'll be notified of any, through our court system, you will be notified. Okay. Any proceedings.
Okay. Let me tell you, this is overwhelming. It's overwhelming to listen to it all over again. You know, the thing about this is you keep hearing, oh, there will be charges, there will be prosecution. The thing that I was dealing with, or my family was dealing with throughout this whole process, is the double Dutch effect. You know, 1 minute they're in, she's going to be prosecuted the next minute, as you even witness here in this, you know, in this recording. In the beginning, it talks about, you know, her being charged and what those charges are going to be and everything. But here, towards the tail end of it, is, you know, again, taking the foot back out and saying, well, we still have, you know, a lot of work to do. We still have this, we still have that to do. We still have to make sure this, because her attorney is going to do this. And so her attorney is what they used a lot of times to prevent, you know, to keep them from going forward with any charges or whatever. Mind you, we haven't seen a whole lot being added to the case in regards to her attorney. I mean, he didn't have to, because a lot of times it was, you know, it was an in and out on their parts. Through a lot of the recordings, you hear a lot of conversation in regards to, you know, in regards to my brother and what he's doing, you know, what he was doing during that time, or what was going on with him, you know, during that time. Now, I'm not going to be that person to try and justify anything in regards to my brother. My brother's life is my brother's life. However, I will say this. Should there have been a trial, my brother wouldn't have been on trial. My brother did not kill anyone. My brother did not have any wrong actions that evening. He was walking. He was a pedestrian. So whether he had whatever he had in his system, I don't even know what meth is. I know it's a drug, but whatever he had in his system, that's not what killed him. Chef Roberts made it a point to say to my mom, the thing that shouldn't have happened, what he said? He said the thing that happened that shouldn't have happened was that somebody who was responsible for taking him to, who had told him he would take him from point A to point B, should have happened. That should have happened. That didn't kill him. That did not kill him. It would have been nice had it happened, but it didn't. So I'm sorry, Chef Roberts, I disagree. That's not the thing that should have happened. What should have happened was Miss Ashley Woosley Winans shouldn't have taken drugs and got behind the wheel of a car. If she was not in a place to where she was function enough to drive, and to drive safely according to the rules and regulations of the motor vehicle department, then her wonderful self shouldn't have been behind the wheel of a car. If she had enough drugs, I don't care if it was, you know, as you would like to explain it, marijuana from last year, if it's still affecting her system this year and it's still showing up in her system this year to be something that's active, then maybe her little wonderful system couldn't handle the intake, the amount that she took in. And for her to say she has no idea, or she had no idea what she hit, at least that's what you shared, then obviously she had enough in her system to impair her vision. That's what shouldn't have happened. Her leaving the scene of an accident is what shouldn't have happened. He talks about in the video, in the recording, that they did a drug screening within 2 hours of identifying the driver. When you hear that, you think, okay, so within 2 hours of the accident is how the mind, would like to understand that, but that's not the understand. That's not how that went. She was gone away from the accident for 2 hours, if not more. And when she returned to remove some things from her vehicle, it was then that they started trying to move forward and getting her tested for drugs. So it was then within those 2 hours. So it was much later than 2 hours after the accident. There is a difference. And the results still came up positive. Additional to that, with Mr. Butterfield story, and as you all know, he's not here to share his story. He's not, we was told during a sit down that his statements or anything that he had to do with in regards to the case wouldn't have been permissible in court anyway, because he was no longer with us. So they wouldn't allow us to see what he had shared. And I don't buy it. Does that mean that anyone who works for the state or another officer or whatever, should they come up, if something happens to them in the line of duty, that any of their police reports, statements, or whatever, they wouldn't be submitted to the court because they're no longer there? I can't see how that would be true. I'm gonna go ahead and I'm gonna go ahead and play his recording. It's very brief. Mr. Butterfield and I, we met at the morgue. They wouldn't let my mom see my brother, and of course that wasn't okay with me. And so Mr. Butterfield and I talked about it, and he agreed to meet me at the morgue. In meeting me at the morgue, we had the opportunity to talk further in regards to it, and he shared with me even then that that he believed that there was something else that took place. I'm not going to try and recount what Mr. Butterfield shared with me in his absence. I do know this, that he's no longer with us. What I'm sharing with you tonight is not his account of what happened, but it is his account of him sharing with me that he was breaking the law by doing what he did. And I think that's very important because, unfortunately, I believe it had a lot to do with what got him killed. So I am going to go ahead and share it with you. And he did, I'll just share it. It's not very long. It was something that I was recording at the hospital when we went and met face to face. Let's see. Sorry, I wasn't going to share it tonight, but so I don't have it right here up under my nose so quickly. So please forgive me. I'm coming. Okay. I guess that's not very long.
Okay, anyway, I'll keep reading now. So I'm really sure you don't get
We're waiting for him right here.
How long ago did y'all talk to her? 2 minutes, okay. You'll see the car outside.
The person that was talking to us was one of the workers at the hospital. So they step away from us to go and check and see if they can actually see him in the parking lot. When they come back, they share with us that he was on the phone with the sheriff department. When he comes in, you'll hear his phone ring. He actually has to step out away from us. He goes out the back door of the hospital because the sheriff actually shows up, Sheriff Roberts. And although he wasn't supposed to allow me to go in, he shares with me there's the Christian side of him. And so he actually went against what he was supposed to do to move forward with what we had already discussed. He's going to come on pretty soon. This is a good guy.
He on his way in. All right. He on his way in. He's on the phone with Sheriff Department.
Thank you.
All right. All right. Yeah, I need so let me know.
You need to give us a name. Exactly. How we gonna let you know when we know who you are?
Yes, sir. Praise.
Thank you for the wall.
Thank you.
I didn't realize our wait was so long.
Thank you.
Okay, I'm Curtis Butterfield.
It's just phone ringing.
Hello. Yeah. You sure? Have they unlocked things? Okay, one of y'all can go in. Now, breaking the law, not letting either one of you go. Well, I'm willing to do that. Hey, would y'all get somebody come unlock more phones?
When you go back and listen to it, he actually says, well, now that's the sheriff.
No technique. This is going to end up being a bad. I mean, the house, my people here. Oh, yes, sir. Yes. I have to look at this too. I am as a coroner, as a Christian, you believe. I agree. And I think that,
Unfortunately, that's it. He had to step away to go and take his call. Like I said, I don't want to recount or go back over the things that he and I discussed because I don't think it's fair in his absence. But he did know what he was doing, and he had his reasons for doing what he was doing. And I don't know if you was able to make it out towards the end when he said that he acted on the Christian side of him. I'm going to ask you guys to just continue to pray, and I'm going to continue to pray. Oh, I will ask that you guys go back. I didn't even realize that there was a investigation in regards to him. And to be honest with you, with the way everything has been going, or everything went with our case, dealing with my brother and seeing how this system works, I don't even know if I would have actually contacted the guy in regards to it, because I don't know who he works for. I don't know who he works under. I don't know who he's taking his instructions from. But I know just reading over the article that they wrote in regards to him, there's just so many questions that I had. And what I'm looking at here is just the news media article that they wrote, and you can actually go and read that for yourself. It actually says the Union County Coroner Curtis Butterfield was found dead at his Parkville Chapel home on Thursday, according to the local law enforcement. My question there, for starters, is what brought about the change in the date of his death? Because first they said it was a Thursday, then they went to Wednesday. So I was concerned about that. Just wanted to know why, what was said. They say Union County Sheriff Ricky Roberts said one of Butterfield's neighbors called the sheriff's office after finding Butterfield unconscious. I was curious to why they didn't call 911 or why they didn't call the police department, but they had the sheriff's number, I guess, on speed dial. I don't know. Usually they would have, during situations like this, they would have some type of news media or something, some type of statement. And then again, I've been away from, Arkansas for so long, so maybe they don't have media statements where the people, actually express what they, witnessed, So I would have thought that the neighbor would have gotten to talk in the media and share, their finding Mr. Butterfield, but I would have wanted to know at least who the neighbor was. But the newspaper article didn't state that at all. So I think I would actually be curious of whether or not there was actual phone records to his office and knowing, whether or not there was actually a call in for Butterfield. But anyway, Union County Sheriff Ricky Roberts said one of Butterfield's neighbors called the sheriff's office after finding Butterfield unconscious in his yard Thursday. Roberts said it looked like Butterfield, 78, was watering his plants when he fell and hit his head on a metal sawhorse. He was a good old guy. He dedicated most of his adult life to Union County. Roberts said he's going to be missed. The same man that showed up at the hospital. I wish I could. There was 2 other people there, and I wish I could describe to you what his personality was like when he came back in the hospital. But like I said, I'm gonna stay away from it. But he still moved forward, and he still took me in that morgue. I didn't know that when we came out of that morgue, the hug that we shared and the words that we shared at the end of our visit there would have been the last that I seen of him. Because that's one person through that whole journey I would have loved to see again. So, but anyway, if you want to know more about Mr. Butterfield's story, I did leave the link there. That's all I have for you guys this evening. God bless.